Hi everyone, this is another video lecture for the class Tools of the Trade. My name is Andrew, a fellow TA of the course, and I'm here to teach you about APIs, or Application Programming Interfaces. This is Unit 2.2. Let's get started. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to talk about what an API is, why they're important. Then we're going to go into RESTful APIs. We're going to talk about request methods, types of APIs, examples, and how to get started. So to start us off, what is an API? So an API is an interface that allows your app to interact with another service using a simple set of commands. And an important thing to note is that you don't need to know kind of the internal logic or how the API works from the back end. All you have to do is send a simple command to the service and it'll return the necessary data. And to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, I'm going to tell you guys an analogy. So you can kind of think of an API like a menu to a restaurant. And this menu kind of provides you a list of dishes and foods that you can order for this restaurant, and as well as a description of each dish. So when you kind of specify what items you want, then the kitchen kind of does the work for you and brings out your food with some of the finished dishes. So basically, you don't really need to know exactly how the restaurant prepares the food, but just that the restaurant gives you what you ordered. And this is a good analogy for an API, but it does lack certain things, like if, say, you are ordering a dish, and sometimes for an API that the developer will bring in some data that is not provided in the menu. This is a good idea of how an API kind of fits into the whole scheme of things. So now we'll go over some definitions of APIs. So an API endpoint is the point of entry in a communication channel when two systems are talking or interacting. So a request and a response is basically what APIs operate through. And so an API will send requests to access data from a web application or a server, and a response is always sent back to the user who requested the method. So basically the endpoint is the location to where the API sends a request and where the response, returns from. So why is this all important? This is important because an API can tie like separate applications together and make them complement each other. It allows you not to reinvent the wheel. So if you wanted to do something for your application, you didn't have to code it from scratch. You can just bring an API to do it for you. It can enrich the functionalities of your own work by adding a bunch of tools. It gives you more tools for your toolbox when you're developing an application. So a REST API is a architectural style of an API. It means representational state transfer. It's a way for kind of two computer systems to communicate over HTTP in a way similar to like web browsers and servers. And each call for a RESTful API is stateless. So basically everything that API needs is fitted into one request. And so in that way, the request is separate, unconnected, and the server is not storing any of the client or developer's data. And so as you can see in the diagram below, there are 4 different HTTP methods. We'll go over that next. So with request methods, so basically a request method is what action you're going to take with using the API. The first one is a GET request, and that just requests data from a server. You can use it to get the data that we are interested in from the API that is ready to share. A POST method allows you to add new data to a server. And using this request, you can kind of add new information to the server's database or something. So a put method changes the existing information stored in the server. And usually with this type of request, it's possible to maybe change a value of an existing item listing in a server. And a delete method basically just deletes information from the server. So here are the 4 different main types of APIs. The first one, which you're going to see most often, is open APIs because they are publicly available to use without any restrictions or anything. Another one is a partner API, which requires licenses and rights to use from the company that produced it. Then there are going to be internal APIs that are basically used only by a company's internal developers. And it's only exposed to the internal systems of that company. And last but not least, there are composite APIs, and that basically combines different data and service APIs to run kind of synchronously as a result of execution and not by a request. Those ones are usually running more in the background. So here's some real world examples of APIs that you have seen on your phone or on your computer. Here on the left, that's a weather widget, which is an API. The second one in the top center is basically like a login API, allowing you to log in from applications like Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn instead of the conventional way of entering your username and password directly to a website. When you're paying for stuff online, you might have the option of paying through PayPal, which you're using their PayPal transaction API. And at the bottom center, a lot of Twitter bots use the Twitter bot API to send messages through code. And so now that we've covered kind of the basic gist of API, I'm going to tell you kind of 3 main steps of how to get started.
So the first step is to get an API key, and you can get this by registering with the API server and entering your information, depending on which API you use. The second one is to test your API endpoints. After you receive your API key, you can refer to the API endpoints in their documentation and see if everything works the way you expect it. A more common way used by developers in a more professional setting is to use a REST client like Postman, but for a very basic API, it's not really necessary. And the third step is creating your first app. And after you've made sure that all the endpoints are working right, you can create your app and make API calls to the right stuff and make sure everything's running smoothly. Thank you, everybody, for watching my intro lecture to APIs. Make sure to look out for the API demo video following this one to learn more about how to get started working on your own API for the activity for Unit 2.2. Bye.